Hi, I'm Isabel. I'm just finishing my bachelor's in political science and Russian, and my ARIA project was on the politics of commemoration in the post-communist world.
Hi, my name is Arina. I'm studying urban systems, going into my third year. My research project was about smart city initiatives in Montreal.
Hi, I'm Hytham Farah. I'm entering my final year in a degree in mathematics and statistics. My research project is on generalized random forest and accelerated Bayesian additive regression trees.
Today we're doing a roundtable to answer the most pressing questions about ARIA, and hopefully give you guys more of an idea about what the program is and how it's helped all of us. How did you end up working with your supervising professor, and what advice would you have for someone thinking of applying? For me, my supervising professor was just someone who was teaching a course that I was in. And I was really interested in the class, and I thought if I wanted to get research experience, it would just be good to do it with a prof that I really liked, teaching something I really liked. So I approached him during office hours. I said, hey, do you know about this program, ARIA? It could be a cool way for me to contribute to your research project. Let's apply together, and she was into it. So we wrote the application together, and I guess my advice would be don't be afraid to make that first move and talk to your prof.
Was that the first time you spoke to her, or did you know her from before?
Honestly, yeah, that was the first time. Like, I had been in her class every day, but you know, like, your prof might not notice you if you're in a big lecture hall. So it was like the first time we broke the ice, and it went fine.
But it was a really small class, so we had a lot of like interaction between students and prof. So that was good for like breaking the ice. And then I went to her office hours a lot, and when I learned about ARIA, like you, I asked her, okay, should we apply together? Do you want to do this? My advice would be don't be afraid to interact with your profs, go to office hours, go to the wine and cheese that your department like holds, and don't be afraid to also like raise your hand and ask questions in class if it's like a small class and if you feel comfortable.
I met my prof I met him through the class that I was taking. I also was enjoying the material. I thought it was really interesting. And the first time I approached him was to ask him for summer research opportunity. I wanted to work with him because I thought the material he was doing was really interesting. And I was afraid to talk to him, especially given that I hadn't talked to him before, but it turned out very well, and he was very excited to take me on. And yeah, the rest is history.
So, what research are you currently working on, and how does it align with your interests? Alright, so I'm currently working on smart city initiatives in Montreal, more specifically regarding issues of civic participation and inclusion. That really aligns with my personal interest for everything that's urban, because I think cities will have like a key roles to play in like the battles to come. And I think inclusion and the participation of like civic society is going to be like key to ensure that there's a balance between for like democracy and like the democratic process and yeah.
I'm currently working on methods to predict data. So you get a data set that you use to train a model. You fit the model on the data set, and then you use your model in order to predict the future, basically. And so in the settings I'm looking at, the training data usually has an input value and an output value, but when you're trying to predict future data, you only have the input. You don't know what the output is. So you kind of try to find patterns where there's input and output, and so that you can kind of try to predict what's going to happen even when you don't know what the output is. That's probably the broadest way of speaking. And the prediction has a lot of it's a long history and a very important subject in mathematics and statistics, but it has a lot of applications outside of those domains, like in economics, even in sports betting, even in social science research, and so I think it's very interesting. And Generally, I'm looking to become more proficient with being able to interpret quantitative information and just try to make sense out of it, because it's really difficult to kind of figure out like what it all means when you're just given a list of numbers. So that's what I'm trying to get out of it, basically, just be more capable of processing large quantities of data that and making sense out of it.
Cool. Thank you. So my ARIA project was about the politics of commemoration in Kyrgyzstan, and also for basically like the post-communist world. So I worked on a project with my professor called the Post-Communist Monuments Project, which is just a huge catalog of all the post-communist monuments basically in the world, and the newsworthy events that surround them. So when they might be taken down during regime change, when they might be desecrated, when they might be replaced, and that kind of thing. And we're trying to map trends for, which countries leave their symbols up, which countries take them down, why does that correlate with the kinds of regimes that we see there. And so specifically, the bulk of my work was I designed a survey to give in Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan, which was the last former Soviet republic to remove their statue of Lenin from the central square. And I gave a survey in Kyrgyzstan, basically just asking people which monuments they felt represented their national identity. And I wanted to see if there's a difference between ethnic Russians and ethnic Kyrgyz people in Bishkek. And then when we analyzed the data, we actually found like some really interesting correlations between statues that commemorated women, and then different answers between male and female respondents on national identity and those monuments. And then also we found the correlation between ethnic minorities and statues of ethnic minorities and that kind of thing. And it aligns with my interests just because I'm really interested in, I study political science, and I'm really interested in the post-communist world and politics of transition in these places. So yeah, it was really great to be able to work on that.
Well, right. Why did you want to apply for ARIA? This one was a no-brainer. When I needed a job over the summer, basically. Like I didn't have an option not to make money, and that was just a perfect opportunity to further my skills, do research, which I really enjoy doing, learn a bunch, and still have it count as a job where you can actually earn something over the summer. So it was just like a blessing that just came out of the heavens.
Yeah, I like the way you phrase it, like a blessing. Being able to do research with a craft you really like, on research that you're passionate about, and get money for it is like a perfect combination of factors.
Yeah, like what you guys said, honestly, just like really got an opportunity to do something that's really gonna help you academically and professionally, but then also have that be a paid opportunity, and to have the opportunity to do that in undergrad is huge, versus having to go into graduate study or something like that.
Right. Yeah, usually there's a trade-off between the amount of money you make and the amount that it's actually
like worth it to you.
Yeah, worth it for yourself. So here it was just like maximize both fronts. It was unreal.
Yeah, just like in undergrad, there's not really a lot of opportunities to work with professors, or it just might seem totally inaccessible. Mm-hmm. So that's that definitely was a huge appeal for me for doing this program. It's like, oh my gosh, this is my opportunity. Like I'm gonna work with a professor. That's great, and and it'll lead to other things. What have you learned so far about how research is conducted? For me, like the biggest thing that I had to, the biggest thing that I didn't know before going into ARIA that actually ended up taking up a lot of my time was ethics approval. That's like not what I expected myself to be doing when I wrote my project proposal and talking to Prof and everything. But it was definitely, I think, one of the most useful parts of doing the internship, because it's kind of something that you're gonna have to do always, and you guys know any research that you do. And I feel like I really understood how to do that process, what the right answers are, how to like make the most efficient application for that. So now I know that when I do more projects in the future, like I'll be able to just like knock that out of the way really quickly. And that's like a really good skill to have, I think.
So far, I think one of the most important things I learned is that research is like an iterative process. You craft like a questionnaire, then you go back to the literature, then you go back to your questionnaire, and you go back to the literature, and it can be like never ending, and it's hard to set like limits for yourself and be like, okay, we're gonna send it now.
Yeah, I'm sweet.
Yes, and how I wasn't expecting research to be so like always in my mind. It's always something you think about in the back of your head.
Yeah, it's hard to like leave it at the library when you go home. You want
you're still always thinking about it.
Yeah, like the question you didn't answer that day, or like what you're gonna do tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's both like a good and a bad thing in a way.
Well, for when the project started, when the prof sent me the description of what I'd be doing, I actually understood probably 10% of the words in the list, because there's a lot of math jargon, stats, computer science jargon that I was just didn't have any clue what half of it meant. And then he gave me like my first couple of papers that I had to read, and they were all so dense that I could barely get through the first 2 pages. And so that seemed like, oh, that means I'm totally not qualified or whatever. But he was like, no, you are. So it kind of taught me how to approach a text that's so dense that it seems like you're just drowning in jargon. And he basically said the onus was on me to fill in the gaps of my own knowledge. And I think that was a good approach, because it really forced me to think about each word that I was reading and where I stopped understanding what was going on. So I'm learning how to basically teach yourself what you didn't know, and that's an important skill with a subject that has a lot of jargon, a lot of words that there's like so much history of scholarship on it, and just trying to deal with that huge body of literature has been a very, very good learning experience for me, I'd say.
Yeah, that was actually a huge thing for me too, maybe for you guys, like not understanding maybe part of my professor's project and then thinking, oh my god, I'm not qualified for this, like what am I doing here? And then just having to take a deep breath and go, okay, like I'm gonna walk myself through this, I'm gonna reach out to my prof for help, like I'm doing this for a reason, like this is happening for a reason, and I can do this, like sometimes you can get really, you can feel like you're not qualified, or you can feel like you're not supposed to be doing it. Like, did you guys have that?
Yes, at some points you feel kind of underqualified, but then like if you reach out, your prof is super like willing to help you, and you realize that it's not about like how good you are, it's about like how much you're willing to learn.
Yeah.
Also, if you read a paper, you're like, oh, this is I know all of this. It's kind of like, well, you want to kind of be pushed a little bit. Like you want kind of papers that are a bit higher than what you currently know, or else I don't know. There's no impetus to learn. I guess it's just what you know already. So I think it's been very effective to have that kind of just like a bit too hard for me, a bit kind of outside of my current grasp.
Yeah, like pushing you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of it.
Yeah, for sure. Also, one more thing about how research is conducted. I'm starting to realize how important it is to make replicable research. Even like I for some reason I thought this would be more of like a science, like a bio, but it's really even true for computer science. Like each step when I'm looking at what previous research, I have to be able to program it on my own computer, verify it, open up the packages that they've made, see each line of code and see how everything fits together, and the importance of presenting your work in a clear way that makes it easy for other people to reproduce it. I'm just starting to understand how important it is. I've heard about it, but I never like was personal.
Yeah, so different to like study about something and then actually do it yourself and then realize, oh, like this is how it really should be.
So what are some of the tasks you've been working on so far? So for me, we've been doing a lot of literature review, finding definitions, working on our own working definitions, crafting a questionnaire, a survey, going through the RAB process, summarizing reports, knowing where to find the information we're looking for, what is missing, what is not and why. Yeah. Looking at case studies. I think that's pretty much what we've been doing so far. Yeah.
Sure. I came in with virtually no background in computer science. Part of the reason I wanted to do this research project was to try to fill in those gaps. So a lot of what I've been doing is teaching myself R and Python with the help of my professor, and it's been good. That's I'd say the majority of what I've been doing, but also just reading through papers and trying to get more mathematical background on exactly what's going on, so that I know how to implement it once I learn how to code sufficiently well.
Yeah, pretty much a lot of literature review as well was like the first part of the project, and then I would say that I spent the beginning of it just I was introduced to this massive database, and it was really disorganized, and there was no way to sort through anything, and I just kind of went through thousands and thousands of entries and just coded all of it for groups, different groups that could be represented, or different areas, different themes. So yeah, just the coding was the biggest part of the beginning of my project.
The last one. Do you think ARIA will have an impact on your future academic and professional career? I'd be very surprised if it didn't. As far as academic goes, it's actually giving me a research opportunity, and that is academia, is research and writing about it. And as far as the professional career goes, if you're working as a mathematician or a statistician in any kind of professional industrial setting, then you need the coding. It's not enough to just kind of have pen and paper. So it's yet I couldn't fit it into my degree because there's already enough in there, right? So it's giving me an opportunity to kind of gain a skill that I otherwise wouldn't have had as a consequence of just merely my education. So it looks like it'll help me on both fronts immensely, I'd say.
So yeah, I think it will have a big impact on my future academic and more professional career. I think just in terms of the relationships you make with your prof, the mentorship you gain, there's no way it can not impact you. And also just experiencing research can get really let you know, oh, do you like doing research? Is it for you? Do you want to do grad school? Do you don't want to do grad school? And also just in terms of confidence gained, in terms of you too, you can do research. Yeah.
Literally same for me, confidence gain was such a big thing. And having never done research before in a serious way, realizing whether or not you like it, there were definitely times when I was wondering, is this for me? Is this what I want to do? And as the project went on, I totally realized it was. So in terms of future plans, I'm going to start a master's program this fall, basically doing what I was doing in my ARIA, and my ARIA definitely supported me in that. When I was writing all my applications, I was able to refer to the fact that I designed my own survey, went down and gave it, and I think that it made those applications really easy to write, and yeah, it definitely led to good things. So
congrats on the master's program.
Same as you guys, though, big changes.